It's time to talk about the topic that gets us probably more hate than any other topic. Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis. Now, this probably isn't going to stop the flaming comments because I don't think those people are watching these videos anyways. But let's try this. 1. We are independent and don't have a dog in this fight. That's how you know you can trust us. 2. Yes, these polls are legitimate. We asked 1,000 people with our typical methodology, targeted by region, age, race, gender, and party. And yes, this is the same methodology and weighting with which we were only 2% off at the margin of error on the 2022 House popular vote. 3. No, we're not hiding the weightings. In fact, we're one of the only pollsters who makes our weightings available for every poll we publish. And unlike some other pollsters, we don't change our weightings every time the wind blows. 4. We aren't in the business of crafting narratives. So I'm sorry if you're a Trump supporter and you can't accept bad news, but perhaps instead of flaming in the comments, you should share our polling with people in your party and sound the alarm. Now, let's recap some facts. In the fall of 2021, the Republicans had the biggest lead we've ever recorded in the history of our generic ballot polling. Multiple polling signs pointed to an energized GOP base, and there was an issue set focused on gas prices, inflation, and violent crime, one which probably couldn't have been better crafted to play to the MAGA message. Fast forward to a year later, and the GOP had squandered most of that generic ballot lead, and the Democrats outperformed on turnout, making a massive electoral upset. Then Republican voters rated their leaders poorly and were begging for new leadership, especially in the Senate and the RNC. I'll link a video in the description if you want to learn more about that. But Republicans did not get their new leadership, and Trump, with an equally large lead as the Republicans in November of 2021, now loses to Biden by 3 points in a hypothetical Biden rematch. Now it's time to explore whether the GOP voters are willing to look elsewhere for a candidate. What is your impression of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis? 52% of U.S. likely voters have at least a somewhat favorable opinion of DeSantis, and 33% have a very favorable impression. 41% have an unfavorable opinion. He polls slightly better with men than women, and actually does pretty well across the age spectrum, but here's party. Republicans have a pretty high favorability rating for DeSantis, 75%, and 52% and 30% of independents and Democrats have a favorable impression as well. These numbers are pretty useless in a vacuum, however, so here are DeSantis' favorability numbers compared with the last time we asked. He's down 3 points among Republicans and took a 10-point hit to very favorable. Very unfavorable numbers among Republicans are up 7 points. He's also lost 3 points among independents, and he's about steady with Democrats, though 6 points more of them strongly disapprove now. Now, here are DeSantis' favorability numbers compared to the last time we asked about Trump in November. Trump actually polls a point better with Republicans, but has 2 points more very unfavorable numbers. So, in reality, Trump and DeSantis are both about equal with Republicans, but DeSantis does significantly better among independents and Democrats. Look at that almost 20-point less very unfavorables in the Democrat column, and 9 points more very favorable among independents. Should Ron DeSantis run for president in 2024? 35% of U.S. likely voters now say yes, and 42% say no. Those numbers are worse for DeSantis since November, with 2 points less saying yes and 4 points more saying no. But what should really give the DeSantis camp pause here is that 5 points less Republicans want him to run than in November. Only 48% now, 3 points less than the 51% of Republicans that want Trump to run when we asked at the end of December. But here's the headline getter. If the choice for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination was between Ron DeSantis and former President Donald Trump, which would you support? Among all likely voters, Ron DeSantis beats Trump 30% to 26%. But those results are, again, pretty meaningless. Here are the party numbers. This gives you a pretty tangible feel for how much more hate Democrats have for Trump than DeSantis. But they're a lot closer among independents, though independents admittedly want a new candidate more. They often say that. But look at the numbers for Republicans. Donald Trump beats Ron DeSantis 45% to 32%, a 13-point lead. So their favorability numbers among Republicans are about equal, and when asked individually, voters are only slightly more likely to say they want Trump than DeSantis. But stack them up together, and Donald Trump easily comes out on top with Republicans. Though the larger question still remains about how electable Trump is compared to DeSantis. The Democrat numbers probably don't matter much, since Democrats usually don't wind up crossing over as much as they tell us they will. But among independents, they do matter, and although DeSantis has a clear favorability advantage among independents, the two of them pull closer when independents are asked which candidate they would support for 2024. Now here's the final slide comparing the last time we pitted Trump versus DeSantis. Now back in February of 2022, we asked the question a little different, offering respondents the choice between a list of candidates that included names like Nikki Haley, Ted Cruz, and Liz Cheney, among others. That's why you see the 29% other candidate response. But then notice that DeSantis only got 20%, and when offered a some other candidate response in today's polling, instead of a list, DeSantis pulls a large chunk of that support. So Trump is still the Republican frontrunner by a large margin, but Republicans opposing Trump are very much gathering behind DeSantis. Whatever happens, this primary season may be one of the craziest ones we've ever seen, with potentially messy fights on both sides of the aisle. It's just starting to gear up, so follow us on Twitter and subscribe at YouTube or Rumble so you don't miss any of it. Thanks for watching.